Hi there, welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Ben Jones. It's time for another edition of The Week Ahead, and joining me on the line to take a look at some of the events that could have a big effect on the markets is Sant Manukyan from IS Investment. To begin with, Sant, we have the Bank of Japan's monetary policy statement and press conference later on today. Japan has seen GDP growth in its fourth quarter, but only 0.3%, making the annual GDP growth around 1% for 2013, which falls short of most analyst predictions. Now, what are you expecting from this meeting?
We had some disappointing numbers today out of Japan, and actually very low export growth and significant import growth. Consumer spending and residential investments were the bright points in the report. However, I believe that they will not pull out any rabbits tomorrow. First, they'll observe the effects of the sales tax hike, which is due this April, as you know. And wages are down for 17 months in a row. So no matter what BoJ does, they cannot really change that reality. On surface, they seem to be getting closer to the inflation target they have, but for wrong reasons. Obviously, weaker yen, higher energy costs, but no real consumer-based inflation. So I believe they will stay put, but we'll discuss those problems in depth. And I think the investors are in a wait-and-see mode as well. They remember what has happened back in 1990s when sales tax was hiked about 2%, and soon after the economy was in a recession. So this time the government, not the BoJ, will come with a stimulus package to compensate the harm. Nevertheless, I think with many other investors, that China and Japan are ticking time bombs, and long-term investors should be very cautious.
Now, on Wednesday, we have some important data for the UK. The unemployment rate is released, as well as the MPC rate vote. Firstly, in your opinion, what is the scenario regarding rates if the unemployment level hits 7% or lower? And do you expect any votes to go towards increasing rates?
Actually, that's exactly what the bank said back in August. I'm quoting them. Once the unemployment rate is at 7%, we'll discuss rate hikes. However, recently, I guess last week, BoE said it will focus on 18 separate measures of spare capacity in Britain's economy, which includes business surveys and the number of hours worked. So I think unemployment is on a healthy path, or let's say employment is on a healthy path, and some members will definitely argue for a rate hike within 2014. Will it materialize? It depends on the global economy as well as the British economy, but I would prefer to bet on Bank of England among the major central banks to have the first rate hike decision. At the moment, no one would really want to kill an infant economic boom, so Bank of England will probably make sure that the economy will go higher before any major moves.
And finally, on Thursday, we have PMI data out for the Eurozone. Last month, French data continued to show a contraction, whereas Germany and the Eurozone as a whole are doing better than forecasted. What do you see happening here, and how damaging to Europe will it be if France continues to contract?
Well, personally, I believe the Eurozone as a whole is not out of the woods yet. When you look at the numbers, only German GDP within the Eurozone has managed to surpass the 2007 peak. Generally, I'm not sure if they are on their feet. Back to France, the yield still prices France as a AAA country. However, as you remember, France was downgraded, and for good reasons, I believe. Labor productivity and unit costs, etc., it's among the worst in Europe. And despite the tax hikes, budget is not in a good shape. And as SMP mentioned, the will to reform the government, labor markets, etc., is not very strong, not to mention the unpopularity of the president. And I believe the French also know this, and that's why they think they keep on calling for a weaker euro. As long as the Eurozone as a whole grows, we will not really price those problems of the French. But once we start to hear about Italy or Spain or any other country, sooner or later, someone will point his finger to France. And I don't think they are really not different than Spain 5 years ago. So the sheer size of the economy can bring down the whole Eurozone. Actually, that's an emerging threat.
Sant, thanks for joining us today. That is all for this edition of The Week Ahead. Stay tuned throughout the week as we'll be covering all of these events and more. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.